Congresswoman, great to have you on the show.
John, it's always so wonderful to be on your show and have an opportunity to visit with your listeners.
Well, we're so grateful. I know Amanda was hoping to join. She's in the middle of something, but we'll get caught up with her soon. I want to turn to what happened in the House Republican caucus just a short while ago. Steve Scalise, the majority leader, finished with the most votes, but quite a bit short of the 217 needed. Get us up to speed on what's going on and what you think may go on over the next few hours.
Well, I think that there's a lot of unknowns right now. So what happened was we went into the room today, into our conference, and had an opportunity for some nominations, and then we voted, and it did come out. It was a close vote. What I am hearing at this point is there is a question as to whether Steve Scalise has the 217 votes that he would need on the floor. I don't think we want a repeat of what happened in January, and we need to make sure that we can come forward with the strongest candidate possible so that they can immediately take over and become the Speaker of the House. So right now, things are a little bit fluid. The House gavelled in for a very short period of time this afternoon, and right now we're waiting to hear whether we're going to go back into conference or exactly what we're doing. So there's some fluidity up here on Capitol. What I am going to say is that we need to get a speaker in place so that we can get back to governing and addressing the issues that are important to the American public. We also need to get back into session and be working to address the absolute catastrophe, the tragedy that happened in Israel over the weekend. My heart goes out to everybody in Israel and all of their family members throughout the world. It was one of the most horrific things that I have ever seen. As I started witnessing at about 5 o'clock in the morning, Wyoming time, I was home and started looking at my phone and realizing that something catastrophic had happened, and then watching it play out. We're all heartbroken. We're all horrified. And I will say this: a weak America makes for a very dangerous world. And I think that is going to be one of Joe Biden's many legacies of failure, of his inability, the fact that we didn't have any intelligence on this, and in addition to the fact that he is such a weak leader, and his administration is wrong on so many different fronts, that it has really invited this kind of a catastrophe and tragedy.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And another issue which you've led on all the way back to the days when you knocked Liz Cheney out of Congress and took her seat is the importance of energy independence in America. We're in this extraordinary dynamic where Joe Biden doesn't want Americans to drill for oil and gas on our land. But meanwhile, the amount of oil that Iran, a bad actor, is exporting to the world, 2 million barrels a month in August, the largest number we've seen in a long time. He has no problem with that. I know you want to rebalance that. How important has energy been to the violent cycle that we're now seeing play out in Israel?
It's the key to it. And in fact, over the last couple of days, I've done a deep dive into a variety of articles and studies and analyses of where Iran was. And because of the embargo, because of the sanctions against Iran, under Donald Trump, we were actually getting to the point where Iran had been so substantially weakened, they were not able to provide the kind of support that they are now to Hamas and Hezbollah, in addition to the way that they treat their own people. I mean, it is just a bankrupt, horrible terroristic regime. And we had brought them to their knees by not allowing them to produce oil and gas. And now look at where they are, and look at what happened on Saturday. I know that the Biden administration is trying to deflect attention from Iran's involvement in what Hamas did, but Hamas gets 70% of its funding from Iran. Whether they were on the phone call saying go now isn't the question. The fact is 70% of every single weapon and bullet and everything else that they used came from Iran. Hezbollah is 100%. We know that they are bad actors within the Middle East, and so giving them any funding whatsoever is absolutely the wrong way to go. Wyoming is one of the largest oil and gas producers in the nation. We're the largest coal producer in the nation. We can generate the energy that we need right here domestically without having to fund dictators and despots and tyrants and terrorists. Yet that's exactly what we're doing because, again, of the failed policies of the Biden administration.
Yeah, and with the price of oil rising consistently since Joe Biden became President, the bankrolls of Russia and Iran just get fatter. It seems as though we're playing into our own worst strategy. It is truly remarkable. I want to ask a little bit. I know earlier today that Congress got a bipartisan private briefing. I'm not going to ask for any classified information, but in general, my understanding is that all the atrocities that have been alleged, and that we saw some on television, they've all been confirmed, that this really was one of the most heinous, most ruthless attacks ever conducted by terrorists. Can you tell us just a little bit about what we do know for certain to be true?
That is what our understanding is. And what I would say is again, even the response of the Biden administration, it doesn't seem that this is a priority. It doesn't seem like people feel that this is something that they need to move quickly on. I was struck by almost the lackadaisical nature of and the reaction of the people who were giving us a briefing. And that's not disclosing anything that's classified.
Right.
I was struck by how they don't seem to believe that there is any kind of urgency associated with this situation. We watched the slaughter of innocent women and children and soldiers. We are aware of the women and children being raped. We're aware of the horrific things coming out of there. And truly, I thought with one guy we were going to go need to check his pulse as he was talking, because he was so uninterested in actually engaging and explaining the urgency of the situation. It was like, well, this is every day. I guess it's Wednesday. Maybe I'll wear a blue shirt. I don't know. Maybe the tan one looks better. That's about the level of engagement that we had, and I don't understand that, because I'm laying awake at night thinking about not only what happened to our allies in the Middle East, but to human beings, to Jews, to Christians, to what's going to happen to the Palestinians. I mean, this is a tragedy beyond tragedies, and this administration, they're not doing much to get our own citizens out. We have citizens who are being held hostage, in addition to which all of the folks who have dual citizenship. It's like, yeah, you know what, if you can catch an airplane out of Israel, good luck. That's probably a way to go. Who would ever take that kind of an approach as a leader?
Yeah, it's mind-numbing, and particularly after everything we learned about the failures in Afghanistan, the failure to get American citizens and our allies out as Afghanistan was falling to the Taliban. You think we'd get it right this time? The shadows and echoes of Afghanistan seem to be very similar here in Israel when it comes to rescuing our own citizens from danger. How could that be? Where is the disconnect in the government for that?
What I see with this administration is that their policies are so poor that what they spend a lot of their time trying to do is distance themselves from having to make decisions. And then when they make decisions or something goes bad, they spend all their time attempting to blame someone else for it. So it isn't as though they step up, take responsibility. I mean, we know that some of the weapons that are being used by Hamas in Israel against our most important ally came out of Afghanistan. So again, these things are all interconnected, not just because his disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan demonstrated a level of weakness and hubris and just a tragedy, again, to use that word, but now the weapons have found their way into the hands of other terrorists around the world. So right now, I think part of why the Biden administration is almost taking we'll see what happens here. It's not really our fault. Don't worry about it. Don't look over there, is that they know that they are so culpable. So they're trying to say maybe it's just not that big of a deal, or we'll try to help people as we can. They don't want to acknowledge that they're the ones that created the conditions and the environment under which this kind of an attack could take place.
It's unbelievable. Harry Truman used to say the buck stops with him, but in Joe Biden's administration, it always stops somewhere else. Congresswoman, what a great honor to have you on the show today. Thank you for all this very important update. We really appreciate it.